So back in the day when I started posting YouTube videos, I remember there was this guitar guru posting these amazing guitar compositions. And recently I had the chance to speak to him and we decided to make a lo-fi beat, which I'm going to break down in this video. His name's JOELIOUS and he used to post these lush guitar compositions that were just purely acoustic guitar, but they captured this sort of warm, nostalgic lo-fi vibe perfectly. So when making this video, he sent over 3 different ideas and I couldn't pick my favorite because they were all so good. So I thought I'll try and merge them all into one track. And I thought it could be a good idea for anyone who's got these sort of old ideas and whips lying around. It can be a great way to maybe merge a few together and come up with something unique and interesting that you might not sit down and make in the first place. So I'm going to be exploring some new techniques, some sampling techniques, so stay tuned for all that. But for now, onto the track breakdown. So this is a snippet of the track that I'm going to make. So start off with 3 different guitar ideas. Guitar idea 1 sounds like this. Guitar idea 2 and guitar idea 3. So the challenge is we need them all to link together without sounding like a sort of jarring merge of different unrelated tracks. And this is a big reason why I advocate for good file management with your whips. So if you've got the key, the BPM labeled, and maybe some information about the vibe, and you've got these all in a folder ready, just little ideas, then potentially when you have a track that sort of feels a bit stale or you don't know what to do with it, then you could be like, oh, actually, I'll throw this whip in there, I'll throw this whip in there, I can take some ideas from each and maybe blend them together. So you don't have to have the same sort of key, and you can have key changes in a track, of course. But for this, I wanted them to all sort of be in the same key. So we had a G major, a D major, and a C major. So I opted to tune everything to D major, and I just did that with Ableton. So I got the 3 guitars and I picked a sort of format that I felt blended nicely. So we want a sort of nice sort of simmer off towards the end and then the new one starts. And the reason we want that is because if it's going from like a rhythm to a completely different rhythm, completely different sort of chord style, it would be a bit jarring. But if we can taper it off a bit, it works really nicely. And this sample was all one sample. So I made sure that it was a long sample and it helps when it transitions from intro into drums. Because if we're switching samples, then there's too much going on. The drums are coming in, the sample's changing. It's a bit too much. So we have these guitars, but it's still a little bit jarring as we move between the 3 progressions. So I'm in D major, and the chords that I thought worked really nicely as a sort of root note were a B and an F sharp. So what I did was I created a sort of bass drone texture bus that keeps everything sort of glued together. So this is a constant throughout the track. So even though we move between different chord progressions and the sort of tonality of it is a bit different because it's been pitched down and pitched up, we've got this sort of constant. So you've got the guitars and you've got the bass, which is the bass section. So this is what the bass section sounds like. Firstly, I used a sample from Splice, and I'll talk about Splice sampling in a minute. But I used this HHM84 C minor love left background thing. Just a bit of filtering here, cutting off the highs, cutting off the lows, going through Portal to give it that choppy feel. And I wanted to sidechain it to the kick, which I've not done yet, but there's that. And then I just layered, and you might have seen a similar bus in different tracks, I just layer all sorts of different pads and sounds. There's no sort of science to it, it's just picking random pads until it sort of creates a nice bass tone. Stuff like swarms. I use some diva patches, a load of them have got dust verb on, which is just sort of blending all the sounds together, giving it a sort of smudged reverb sound. Some different diva patches with dust verb. Some more contact patches from different libraries. I use a lot of Slate and Ash stuff. And I also have this little sample which I found on my computer. I think it might have been a 1/4 sample. And this just sort of like blends up through the middle of the track and then fades out again. So altogether we have this nice bass layer of sort of blended sounds that we can blend with the guitar. Next up I add some vocals. These are both patches from Vital, and these are both from my dark ambient preset packs. I think it's pack 1 for both of them, Vox 1. and Vox 4, both from Dark Ambient Volume 1. They sound like this. Having a sort of human vocal texture in a track just gives it a unique sort of feel, and I guess people sort of gravitate towards that. So it's nice to bury these in the mix as well. So we've got some interesting effects that come on in the drop, but I'll just go through the rest of the sounds and samples. So I've added a few samples from the Sleepy Lo-Fi drum kit. Again, I'm just sort of dust verbing it and cutting off the lows to smudge the sound and blend it in with the rest. I've also got this interesting plugin, which is a new one from Elementary Sounds, called Tish. It's sort of like, I'm not actually 100% sure what it is, I should probably Google it, but it sounds like a sort of kalimba, melody, pluck thing. And they've got these really interesting granular warps, which you can trigger by sort of moving this up and down. And what I've done with this is I've put spiff on there. This is what it sounds like fully. It's a little bit too much. So I put spiff on there to just pick out some of these sort of resonance and peaks. If you go on spiff, you can put delta mode on. You can just get these sort of sounds that spiff takes. And I've used this a lot in a recent album. It's a great technique to get some unusual sounds, just sort of happy accidents. And then again, throw dust verb on there to extend the sort of shimmer of these sounds. And that blends really nicely with everything else. Then a couple more samples. So this one, a little vocal sample. And this one, which is like a synth, which I've used Brusfree on, which is similar to spiff in that it takes away some of the sound. So you just press learn, and it's supposed to take away noises, but it works really well to just take away loads of elements of a sound to make it a little bit more minimal. And again, it's not a science, like the sounds that shimmer through aren't always on time, and it takes away some sounds but not others. So it just creates interesting samples, and it makes them more subtle, because a lot of samples you'll find are just too much. And as well, when I'm talking about this, the way I find samples recently is by using Splice Bridge. So if you throw on Splice Bridge, it links to the Splicer app. I think I've shown this before. So you can search for lo-fi, set your BPM, set your key. Usually what I do is I'll set major or minor, and then I'll just pick the key down here, and then everything you play is in key with the track. And you can just try out all these sounds. And honestly, like I just did not use Splice at all. I had it ticking in the background. I very rarely used it, but with Bridge, use it all the time. And before I give away the rest of my secrets, I've got a quick message from this week's video sponsor, who is the long-term sponsor of this channel and the legendary DistroKid. And if you're not already using DistroKid, at least for part of your catalogue, I challenge you to question why and whether it might actually be beneficial for you to move some tracks over to DistroKid. Once I export the track after mastering at the end of the video, I can easily distribute it through their split payment feature, which allows me to distribute it onto both of our profiles and then set up the payments so I can split the payments equally between myself and JOELIOUS. So as a recipient, you get an email with your invite code, and you just paste it in here, and you are now automatically getting whatever percentage of the splits you agree. And if you want to send one out, you pick your release, hit next, and then you just pick exactly who gets what percentage. But the reason I challenge you to question whether you should be moving some tracks over is because DistroKid doesn't take a percentage cut of your royalties, which is their big selling point, because a lot of distributors will take 15 or up to 30% royalties. And for a lot of people, you're not even locked into these deals, and they may not even be doing anything to actively promote your catalogue. And if that's the case, maybe you're on big playlists, maybe you've got a really successful track that the distributors had nothing to do with. You can just move it over to DistroKid, not lose any of your placements, and just get that extra 10 or 15%. And the payment for that is as follows. If you want to do that for just one alias, and it's already got these placements behind it, just go for the musician plan. You can move the track over and just keep it rolling away. If you're going to release new tracks through DistroKid and new releases, you probably want to go for the musician plus plan, because you get to pick your release date in advance, which is essential really for promoting the track. For the musician plan, $2 a month, and for the musician plus plan, it's $3.75 a month. And if you click the link in the description down below, you'll get 7% off your first year. So I implore you to click the link, check DistroKid out. But anyway, on to the rest of my sampling secrets. So to summarize, this is the instrument bus. Bass drone, some textures, some samples to glue it all together. On the master bus, I've got a lux, again, a bit of saturation, a bit of sort of compression, some filtering, which sweeps in at the start and just sort of fades the track in nicely. And again, I use this like portal sort of choppy thing that I use a lot. Just sort of throws the sound around a little bit as we go to the drop. And for that bit, I do bring in some convolution reverb. And then for the dropout bit where the drums drop out, and I'll go over the drums in a second. I really like this effect. I don't know why I've not done it before, where you just send everything to an Altiverb or a sort of convolution reverb. Altiverb's ludicrously expensive, but there's some cheap ones from like Cleverground Audio that do a similar thing. And there's others on the market. So I'm sending it to this attic loft bedroom. I really like the impulse response. It makes it quite intimate and sort of not too chaotic, but you get an unusual sound. And especially with headphones, it just made a really interesting effect. And I sort of bring it back in as the track fades out. On top of that, I threw in some take noise from the Chill Drum Lo-Fi pack, which I put out a while ago with Be Calm. For the bass, what I did was quite interesting. I've not used that much in tracks, but recently I've been sort of trying it out. I just played it on the electric guitar, just DI, and pitched it down an octave. Just doing like a finger mute. It gives quite a nice sort of plucky bass feel. Especially if you've not got a bass guitar, you sort of don't even need one really. It's not quite the same sound, but it's not miles away, and you get a unique vibe to it as well. I use thermal, which again I've been using quite a lot recently. I've had this for years. It was sort of the first plugins that I invested in from Output, but it's just got so many nice sounds. I'm moving back to it. It's got a lot of presets that you can mess about with, and it's just giving it a bit of drive. And I've got Soothe on there just to tame some of the heavier bass resonance. Then just a simple kick from the I think that's from Organic drum kit that I released for the main drum bus. On the bus there, I've just got a J37, giving it a bit of saturation, using the mastering Fat Tighten Open preset with a bit more saturation boost. Bit of lux on there as well, finesse, and a bit of filtering just to sweep out as we get to the sort of dropout bit. So for the snares, I'm layering a couple of different things. These are all sounds from the chilled lo-fi drum kit I did with Be Calm. Some rim shots, some snares, and a little roll that comes in at the end. I just layered that with a rim shot from Addictive Drums, just this bit. I also laid it with one of the organic snares from Chill Drums, but I put spiff on it just to make it a little bit tighter. So you got a nice sort of acoustic-y sounding vibe. And then I've layered some clock samples from the Sleepy Lo-Fi drum kit. I like the acoustics of the little ticking clocks, and I've got loads of different ones with slightly different grooves in the Sleepy drum kit. A transition from the Sleepy drum kit. Just a sort of swoosh. This tree foley I recorded in when it was winter. I made a video sampling some stuff in the garden. I just like the texture it brings to tracks. You can also do this with vinyl noise. Just get some vinyl noise, maybe sidechain it to the kick, maybe give it some sort of movement itself. You can see I'm going at this like an auto pan, some filtering, and you get this nice texture that just beefs up the drum sound. That's empty, and then a couple more samples, which I had on the computer, and Addictive Drums just for some like cymbals. And yeah, my favourite bit is just this bit when it drops out. And it brings in the Altiverb. And I think it transitions nice from the first chord progression to the second one as well. And then here it transitions to the third one. Hopefully it's seamless and you get the really interesting melodies from JOELIOUS coming through. Because So I'll play it through now with some videos that JOELIOUS sent over, so you can see his full playthrough if you want to sort of check out what he's doing on the guitar. So huge thanks and shout out to him. Definitely check out his channel if you're looking for some inspiration and some great music. I've got some really exciting stuff to come, so please do hit the notification bell. Video frequency is going to be going down, but there's going to be some interesting stuff and some very exciting collabs on the way. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll play this through and catch you next time.